about a year ago, a little over a year ago, I just walked in this building and I start shaking. As men and leaders, what the definition that I was taught and what I learned, you mask pain, right? You got to stay strong. You don't show any signs of weakness. So there's a lot going on with me personally and professionally, and walking here, there's hundreds of people in here at a time. You know, pro athletes, there's artists, you know, we have employees, all of that. And so one day, after about a couple of years just standing strong, walked in and just started shaking. I just heard or felt that I needed to go into a dark room and I wanted to be warm. So we have a hot yoga room, so I walked in there and I laid down and I turned on the heat and I just laid on the mat and I just started crying. And that was the first time in a long time that I let myself cry. On that mat, I said, I gotta shut this thing down. I have to. I thought it was gonna take 3 months. I'm in the process of opening up now, so it's a year and 3 months later, right? Because I just needed quiet. But what ended up happening was I dove deep into my faith. I dove deep on that mat as well. And what came up on the mat was the emotions. And then it's like, you look at this, is it anger or is it, right? I was like, whoa, right? So there was so much I learned there, and it's just interesting because you're right. On the mat was the first time I told myself, well, I looked in the mirror to talk about affirmations later. You know, the first time I told myself, I love myself. I love you.
From the mud, I had to get up in my zone, and I ain't have a team. I had to get it on my own. The only ones I love, the ones I hit up on my phone. With nobody at the top, this how I feel when you alone. Had to get up on my self-love.
Brandon Marshall, I am athlete, sitting here with a Christian, an author, speaker, father, husband, Jason Wilson. Thank you for coming.
Honor to be here, brother.
Yeah.
Finally.
I like to jump right in.
Yes.
You good with that?
Yes.
I'm struggling to evolve as more than a provider and a protector.
Why are you struggling? Or what's the struggle?
I've spent almost all of my life chasing dreams, NFL, well, college, NFL, Pro Bowls, Super Bowls, contracts, business now after retirement. So it didn't leave enough time to learn anything different, much time to learn anything different. You know, what I was taught, and I think a lot of us men, majority of us men, is that's what a man is, a provider and a protector. And so I start there because, you know, I'm a big reader, but very specific. I didn't think I was going to enjoy your words as much as I did and need them as much as I did, right? In your book, you talk about the 10 characteristics of a comprehensive man, right?
Yes.
And you talk about provider and protector.
Yes.
And like, man, I'm perfect there, almost perfect there. But in those other areas, there's so much information, there's so much more knowledge to gain.
But even in the fighter, which is why I start off with that characteristic, many of us aren't fighting the right way. Hence why so many of us are taking our lives in alarming numbers. We die by suicide almost 4 times as likely as women. Now suffering in silence has become a code of honor instead of something that we should fear ever being in. And so what happens is, especially after retirement, me working with a few athletes as well, and older men who retired from just like 9-to-5 jobs, you find that once you've allowed your entire life to be centered around work, that becomes your entire worth. So when you're no longer able to provide for others in the way that you were used to, you feel there's no meaning left to life. And that's the tragedy that men face, especially at the age of 65. And then athletes, when you retire, your whole career, you've been monitored and checked, graded based off your performance. And then we wonder why it's so hard for men to rest, why men don't desire to even self-maintenance to take care of ourselves. Because when all you feel that you're only good for what you do, you can never really be who you are. You never can really find peace in just existing. And so we stop being human beings and become human doings. And that's, to me, I see one of the biggest detriments with men not being able to rest. You will see, I start taking pictures when I'm out of older couples. And you'll see the wife, she's peppy, walking around freely. But the husband always either has a cane or a walker, can barely move. And even then, and no matter how many pictures I show in my presentations, we're still stuck in performance mode. And as I share in the husband chapter about being viewed as the lesser half, you know, I took high offense to that one time. A guy says, "I see you with your better half," referring to my wife. And so, in other words, my role, the honey-do list, everything is built off of performance, and that's the plight. And so once we get past provider and protector, and we touch leader a little bit.
But you're a believer, though.
Yes.
And the word is, man, is to provide and protect.
Not provide. We're supposed to protect. We have to provide, or we're worse than an unbeliever if we don't provide for our own household. I think that's what you're talking about.
Yes.
But that's not the only thing we should do as well. The Bible also says that husbands are supposed to love their wives as Christ loved the church, basically laying his life down for her. Do we do that? No. We're supposed to love our wives as our own bodies. I believe we're doing that because I believe many of us as men don't love ourselves. And so because of the love that we have for ourselves, or the lack thereof, that lack of affection or patience and everything is being conveyed or transferred onto our wives. So we can't even love our wives the way that God told us to. So
there's three things, right? Like, there's three things I want to jump into right now. I love these conversations. One, before I can unpack some of the things that you just said, one, what is a man? I think we have to define that before we even go into all of the characteristics, right? And I want to circle back to provider, protector, but what is a man?
You can't define it. Once you define a man, he's locked in, he's limited. And so,
hold on, don't go too fast there.
Well, that's the issue now. We've allowed society to define who we are as men. You know, to me, the ultimate standard of a comprehensive man was Yeshua HaMashiach, or Jesus the Messiah. He manifested and he embodied every characteristic. He was a fighter, clearly, when he made a whip of cords and chased the money changers out the temple. He didn't tell his disciples to get rid of their swords. He told them to get rid of their garments or sell their garments to get swords. But yet you see the nurturer in him, crying through the streets of Jerusalem when the people were like sheep without shepherds. And so he was never defined. He is anything and everything we need in him. He went through everything so that he could be all to us.
Is that the connection with the title, The Man the Moment Demands?
Yeah.
It's like how you
want to be able to meet the moment. So how many men can't or don't meet the moment? How many men I've counseled, I can't tell you, have regrets of missing so many moments in their children's lives. And I'm not talking about sporting events or plays. I'm saying when your son may have an emotional breakdown after school or a situation with his brother, and you lose it because of something that happened at work. You can't release that moment so that you can be present in this moment, because as men, we're not used to expressing emotions outside of maybe anger, frustration, and maybe sadness.
Okay, so this is touching home now. That was all of last month for me, struggling mighty with my kids. And it goes back to I'm struggling, evolving as more than a protector and provider. my kids, being kids, they're having those moments. I need to show up. I can't show up because I'm thinking about making payroll. I can't show up because I'm thinking about this contract that I gotta close, this deal that I have to close. Because why? I'm a provider. If I don't close this deal, then there's 40 people that don't pay their bills. And so, I know, I think you know my story, right? Mental health, some of the stories we lean into and we tell. And I am struggling when it gets really tough, when business gets really tough, to be present at home.
Are you prioritizing the business? See, providing for the family is more than money. It was a point in our marriage where Nicole, who was my wife, made more money than I did, but I still led the home. It didn't take away from who I was in the home. A lot of times your identity, see, when I was more focused on the accolades and even ministering and helping youth, I noticed one thing. I never wanted to become, or my kids labeled as, I guess, preacher's kids, or, you know, it's a story about the cobbler or a man who repairs shoes for everyone in the community, but his kids have holes in theirs. And so being a provider is much more than the money. And I mean, think of this. I mean, the times my father would give me money, because my mother divorced him when I was 6 years old. His way of making up for him not being in our home was giving me money. The money meant nothing to me as a child. His presence, his love, his affirmation, me knowing I'm more important than him working 12 hours at the barbershop.
You talk about that in one of the chapters, being present and not just giving presents.
Yeah, and so,
Yeah.
but if particularly what you're dealing with, you know, a lot of pressure, especially running everything here.
And the reason why, listen, I love leaning into my story because I believe others will lean into what they're dealing with more.
Absolutely.
Right? And so I hear you on the provider, protector thing, and we're so much more than that. But there are so many of us out there right now that are struggling with this is a real thing. Like, I know that's why I opened it, this conversation up like that, is because a lot of us men, we're not there for our significant other or our wives, our girlfriends, our children. Why? Because we have to.
But no, it's not the work. What is this quote I read? Is that majority of men aren't workaholics. What is it? Oh yeah, no, they're not workaholics. They're allergic to home. And so the thing is, why are we allergic to really being present, being more than just who we are outside of those four walls? See, when you're in your home, who you are as an athlete, what you do here, that don't really matter that much in those four walls. And I learned early on with my life, with my children, is that I wanted all of my affirmation, my accolades, to come from my wife and my children more than anything outside of that place.
When did that click?
After almost losing them. I pursued music. I was a real popular DJ in my city, Detroit, produced music and hip hop. And I pursued it so much that one day I was actually, you heard of the rapper Royce the 5'9"?
Yeah.
So that's my guy. I was sending him a demo tape. I left my 2-year-old daughter at the time at home. Didn't know she was asleep. So focused on making this platinum record. Drive to FedEx, the alarm goes off at my house. Pick up the phone, it's the alarm company. We detected a motion in your home. The police are on their way. It was my daughter. I was so focused on the doing, the providing, being the best at chasing this dream because of the lack of affirmation I didn't get from my dad, or the affirmation I didn't get from my father, that I left the greatest blessing at the time at my house at home where she could have harmed herself. That was a wake-up call for me. At that moment, I said, you know what? enough is enough. I want to start living from what I longed for instead of what I didn't get. And a lot of us as men, we're still stuck with the childhood wounds. We allow our trauma to time travel, and where we can't even be present. And that's why I talk about being the man in that moment. When you're at home, put the phones down. Don't worry about not making payroll. My wife and I run a nonprofit. This is our 22nd year. And I do understand the pressure of having to step to make sure you can make payroll and everything else is taken care of. But at the end of the day, that's the benefit of being a son of the Most High, is that I can literally close my eyes and don't worry about it. Because in my greatest strength, I'm still so weak. I still can't accomplish it all. I still need his help.
Okay, so can you share a testimony with us? Because, you know, as men, we need to see, we need to feel, we need to hear it. Can you share a testimony where, you know, there was a lot of pressure on you outside the home and you got still, leaned into your faith, and boom.
Several. Let me say about provision, since we were talking about providing. I had held a position at a popular charter school in Detroit. I was mentoring, security, and facilities manager. They wanted to bring me in because my background in martial arts and working with youth to stop the number of fights that were erupting at the school, and it worked. To make a long story short, I needed a certain number of staff to hold the security contract. One day I got a call that one of my main guys wasn't on site. Because I'm a man of integrity, I went to my boss and said, hey, I can't keep this contract because I can't fulfill it. I don't want to take the money and I'm not secure in the building. He was offended by that and took the contract, but not just the contract, but additional money out my paycheck. That directly affected my family. My wife was upset, I was upset, but in that moment, me wanting to jump across the table and grab him wouldn't have solved anything. I stayed calm, trusted in the Most High, and said, he got me. Do you know the very next day, that Saturday, we get a letter in the mail from the government that we got awarded a grant that we had gotten denied for previously. And I was able to give him my 2 weeks notice that Monday. Because I knew, although I have to work to bring it in, bring the money in, he is my provider. He takes care of me and I take care of my family. Yes, faith without works is dead, but the grinding mentality that we believe is helping us is actually crushing us. And when we look at the word grind, it's not a positive word. It means to crush, to oppress, to obliterate, you know, to oppress the poor, actually. That's another definition of the word grind. And so then you wonder why so many men who say we grind, we look wore out every time we see each other. And so rest, you know, we have a difficult time resting because we don't see rest as a restoration of strength, but we kind of equate it with weakness, you know, and I tell men, you know, if you don't rest from work, work will rest you in peace. And my best friend, Daryl, athlete, worked out, dropped dead of a massive heart attack one day because of his stress load and his workload. And he couldn't share anything with us. I didn't know what he was going through. He, again, suffering in silence, the model of being a stoic, strong, and I had to bury him.
Before we, and I'm sorry for that, and that was, what year was that?
2004.
2004. I want to talk about that, but I want to go back to you not jumping across the table. How much of your practice, your martial arts practice, go into that type of poise, that type of discipline? And the reason why I'm asking that is because, you know, I find that sports puts us in a routine, and when you enter as a boy, if you stay long enough, you come out as a man, right? But what is a man?
Exactly.
Right? And so martial arts, because I see your practice with the youth and what you do there, is that where you got it?
No. My restraint, my self-control comes from God, the Most High. I actually had an epiphany training in martial arts because I was wondering, like, wait a minute, we got all this skill in here, but yet so many of my friends were failing in life. Black belts in training, but white belts in life. Couldn't restrain themselves from their sexual desires to save their marriage. Couldn't articulate their words in a way where it didn't offend their boss in a way where they would lose their jobs.
Yeah.
And so what was all of this learning how to strike, kick, knee, choke, throw? What is all of this for if it can't apply to real life? And that's when I started challenging, like, why are we doing this? And to your point about what stopped me from jumping across the table, that comes with being used to processing your emotions in real time. That way, instead of reacting to everything that happens, you have the time to respond to it. And so that came through, again, years of just practicing in real time with being married with my wife. When we're in arguments, you know, I'm practicing what I call combat communication. I'm downloading her body language, everything that she's saying, and how I'm going to respond, not in a way to refute what she's saying, but to answer what her heart is actually conveying. But that came because I started becoming more aware.
Can you give us an example of that, what that would look like?
I give you an extreme and then how I handle it now. My wife one day, I love my son, Jason. I prayed for a son, finally had one. I wanted to spend as much time as possible with him. And so one day in the kitchen, I was saying, hey, you know, I wish I had more time to spend with Jason. And Nicole just said from her heart, wow, I wish you had that desire to spend time with me. I heard that it was something else I wasn't doing right, not that my wife just wanted to spend more time with her husband. As a result of that and not being able to control my emotions, I started yelling at the top of my lungs. And in that moment, I saw my beautiful wife, her whole spirit just leave, and she just took a seat. And I hit the refrigerator as hard as I could and saying, you know, why can't I just spend time with my son? Why is it always something? That was a turning point in the way I learned how to communicate with her. Now, if that happens, or if we're working on finances in our home, instead of saying, you know, why don't you submit to my leadership? I said, Cole, it hurts me that you don't trust me. I'm trying my best to make sure that we have all of this set up, not only for us now, but our children's lives in the future. What have I done to make you not trust me? Now, when I convey it that way, I convey it rooted in the spirit of love. She has no reason to have her guard up, no reason to not hear my heart. Now I'm speaking her language, and as I share in that book about the analogy of the crayons, you know, you got the 8 box of crayons, then you have the 64 box. As men, we typically stay in the 8 box of crayons that I compare to emotions, right? And we don't even use all 8 of those. We may use maybe 2 or 3.
Listen,
Yeah, go ahead.
Listen, man, so about a year ago, a little over a year ago, I just walked in this building and I start shaking. Like, you know, as men and leaders, what the definition that I was taught and what I learned, you mask pain, right? You got to stay strong. You don't show any signs of weakness. So there's a lot going on with me personally and professionally, and walking here, there's hundreds of people in here at a time. You know, pro athletes, there's artists, you know, we have employees, all of that. And so one day, after about a couple of years just standing strong, walked in and just started shaking. And I just heard or felt that I needed to go into a dark room, and I wanted to be warm. So we have a hot yoga room, so I walked in there, and I laid down, and I turned on the heat, and I just laid on the mat, and I just started crying. And that was the first time in a long time that I like let myself cry. On that mat, I said, I gotta shut this thing down. Like, I have to. I thought it was gonna take 3 months. I'm in the process of opening up now, so it's a year and 3 months later, right? Because I just needed quiet. But what ended up happening was I dove deep into my faith. I dove deep on that mat as well. And what came up on the mat was the emotions. Young lady, Kayla, yoga instructor, she will work with me every day, sometimes twice a day. And it was the first time she brought out the emotional will that you're talking about. She was like, well, what are you feeling? And then it's like, you look at this, is it anger or is it, right? I was like, whoa, right? So there was so much I learned there, and it's just interesting because you're right. Like, on the mat was the first time I told myself, well, I looked in the mirror to talk about affirmations later, you know, the first time I told myself I love myself, I love you.
Right.
And it shocked me, it scared me, I stopped. And she looked at me like, was that the first time? So, yeah, can you dive deeper into the emotional will? Because I feel like as men, we only know a few. You say 8, I feel like it's 4.
I say maybe, half the
nice.
Yeah. And so let's talk about communication real quick so I can tie it back into me and my wife. So here it is, women are used to expressing the gamut of emotions in the 64 box of crayons that we both have as men and women. But yet when she requests, say, the color emotion of violet, for you to meet her there, all you have is purple. She has lime, you have to make lime with green and yellow. But yet you have the same access to these box of crayons or these emotions where you can really communicate. But because, again, we've allowed society to define us, to hoodwink us into this limited definition of what a man is, now we can't even meet the moments in our own home. We're more afraid of living from the good in our hearts, and we surrender to the fear of how we'll be perceived as men. As far as the feeling wheel, I created the earthquake of emotions, which is in there as well, to simplify it, because we're not used to expressing but maybe 4 emotions. So you have like maybe, I think, 4 in the middle of that wheel, and then on the outskirt of the second tier of that wheel, maybe 20, and then out on the third tier, that's it. So that's what I created. I wanted to simplify the process because you can see.
Oh, I'm tapped in with you.
All right.
I'm tapped in with you.
So at the surface.
I know to get to the page.
Yes,
too.
sir. At the surface, I call anger a surface emotion. Because that's the first thing we express. But that's not really what we.
That's most men. I love this conversation because we don't talk about this, man. That's what we show. You said 8. I'm telling you it's 4.
No, I agree. No, I agree. It's 4. I gave us grace by saying 8, but we probably only use 4 or 3 of those crayons.
Because the first is anger, surface.
So, but when you go down lower, so that's the epicenter. That's the surface of the earth, and you see that's where everything that we love, and we're so used to just expressing anger. But what if we went down to the hypocenter, where at the core of where everything is happening, where the eruption is starting? Okay, where the quaking, not erupting, but the quaking is starting, and express, I'm fearful, I'm nervous. I remember it was liberating when I first told my wife that I was scared I had to make this decision. She still respected me as a man. It didn't take anything away from the lion in me because I showed her the lamb. And it removed this misplaced pressure that everything ends with me.
The first time that happened, when you said that to her, did you guys get closer?
Absolutely. I mean, when I lost my mother, I lost a nurturer. And see, so many men, when they lose their mothers, it's nothing like losing your mother. But yet, when we're not used to expressing that hurt or how bad we're hurting to our wives, or we miss that nurturing, here it is that God has a woman for us, married to us, willing to help in that area of nurturing, but we're too afraid to let her know that that little boy who yearns for his mother needs that nurturing still.
So, man.
So Nicole embraced that. Literally, I could lay my head on her lap and she'll rub my scalp until I go to sleep.
And you're laying on her lap because there's times when you need that.
I need to release. Just like you lay down on that yoga mat, that sometimes is my wife's lap or her arms, or she laying on me just holding me.
Still to this day?
Absolutely. I mean, I was just sharing recently with my mother, when she developed dementia, I was 40, 60 years she had passed. 46-year-old man sitting with her at the house, laying quietly, my head on her shoulder, because I just needed that safe space that I felt I could get from my mother, you know? For a young boy, which is why the mother wound is so great, the mother is the first love of his life, just like for a daughter, the dad is the first love of her life. And so when you don't receive that affirmation and love from your mother, now you're struggling with relationships with your own wife. I realized through therapy that I never had affirmation or the affection from my mother, so I can't really be affectionate to my wife like I desire. My brother was murdered in 1973. My first brother, I lost 2 brothers to homicide, and I was 3 years old at the time. My mother went cold emotionally. If not for the community and family undergirding her, I don't know if she would have made it. But as a result of that, my wife would touch me, bro. You talk about, like, you know, not loving ourselves. I would, like, cringe when she would caress me, like, dang, why are you touching me? Not that I was angry at her, but like, I don't deserve this. Why? What do you like about me so much that you'll come up and just rub my face and look intimately in my eyes? And it's not sexual.
Doc, I'm struggling with that right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have that nurture like you.
Yeah.
My mother was abused by her stepfather.
Mm.
She was 10, 11 years old.
Mm.
Volatile relationship with my father. Toxic situations after that. Alcoholic.
Mm.
So I grew up, like, most of my childhood was my mom being in her room, coming out, making sure we ate or the house was clean, and every day she was drinking a fifth of Hennessy. And it's just hitting me right now because finalized the divorce. It was a 3-year process. So this 2024, finalized that divorce. And so now I'm dating, and
what do you feel you missed? If you were little...
I am, and this is real time, Doc. This is real time.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have that, now I'm dating in a healthy way, in a beautiful way. I'm realizing that it's hard for me to receive love.
Yes.
Down to the touch.
Yes.
Right? Like,
yes. My brother called me at midnight just checking on me because I had been sick last night. And I said, you know, because he was 18 at the time when Larry got murdered. And I said, you know, I just realized again how much it affected me that I never had Mom's touch and affection. She loved me though, you know? And he says, I saw it, Jason, but I never could say anything. And so that's why I asked you, little Brandon, like, he's still there hurting.
yeah.
And so that's the child that has to be healed. See, so many of us as men, when we wear the facade or the Superman cape that eventually strangles us, we live with broken boys inside of us. And that's why I often tell women, you know, that man you're arguing with, 9 times out of 10, you're not arguing with him, you're arguing with the boy inside of him. I had to download a picture of my wife in my phone to keep my heart tender towards her when we have disagreements, because she has also a broken girl inside of her. I struggle so much with the affection piece that self-affirmations didn't even work for me. I had to go back, not forgive my mother, because my mother went through something similar with yours. My grandfather was lynched in 1936, beaten and lynched. After that, her first marriage was very abusive. My brother's fathers would shoot guns in the house, slap them with the flat sides of butcher knives, and beat her, senseless sometimes. Then after that, her son gets murdered. She goes cold. And what happens is, as children, we interpret because we can't process, the brain is too young. And so that lack of touch told me I really wasn't that worthy or that special. And then I struggled a lot with confidence and standing out and being bold young. And that's why I asked you to identify what did little Brandon want, and start speaking that and writing that down, because God will find a way to fulfill that.
Yeah.
And he did that through Nicole, my wife, because she caresses me when she's wrong. I mean, just before coming here, man, I felt like I was under a major spiritual attack. I was with Sister B. Simone, and then to come here, and we get in a little argument, and she comes right back and hugs me, crying, I'm sorry, and we reconcile. God gave me the nurturer, the love that I missed as a child.
So I struggle
through
with
her.
that. I struggle with that, right? You know, having an opportunity to evolve and grow and do it better, or the right way, moving forward. I struggle with perfection. Like, I feel like I'm supposed to come complete and whole.
Why is that, though? Just stay there.
Yeah, that's exactly where I want to go, because you said your wife came and she almost, like, she helped heal you and complete you in a way, right? She was that nurturer that you need, right? Like, I am in process where I know this. I've talked to my mom about these things. I forgave my mom. I love my mom. She's healthy now. She's 9 years sober, and, you know, therapy to praying, but I'm not there yet. Like, I still, and it's really highlighted now over the last, you know, year, being really single. So, like, you know, it's really highlighted that it's hard for me to receive love. So in my mind, you know, I felt like, all right, I gotta become the man that I'm supposed to be for the next person and for my kids, right? But you talk about the man the moment demands, there's times where I'm like, dang, I fell short again. Dang, I didn't respond that way. My son need me, my daughter need me, but dang, I gotta go over here. So, you know, I don't know why. You know, that's why I love this book. That's why I love going to church. That's why I love, you know, therapy. That's why I love working out, is because I'm learning, right? But that's literally how I felt. That's how I feel still. Like, I'm working through, like, man.
We're constantly evolving. Like, there is no master level in manhood. You're going to keep evolving. Once you think there's a level, you're going to stop growing. Always allow yourself to grow. You know, that's why I love MMA now. You know, I've been training in martial arts definitely over 26 years now. And when I first started, everything was like karate, kung fu, taekwondo. I mean, all the rigid martial art styles. But then here comes Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, shakes the entire martial arts world up. And if the other martial artists weren't willing to evolve, they would get left behind. That's what we are as men, okay? Yeah, this works for so long, but eventually now you have to move, pivot, become more comprehensive as a man. Are you willing to show your wife that, hey, this cape is killing me, I gotta take this off. You need to know really.
That's where I struggle. That's where I struggle right now. Like, when it's hurting and it's painful, I struggle, and I'm so educated I'm so like, I'm not on medication, but I'm medicated because I've done so much therapy. But I struggle with when it's hurting and it's painful, opening up and saying, man, this hurts. I'm sad or I'm scared.
To anyone, or do you have anyone that you can be transparent with?
Yeah, I do. I mean, it's the nurturer, right? It's the nurturer.
Okay. So when you said, you said it's difficult.
I'm private with my dating life, dog. I'm trying to be private.
No, I don't want to know her. So
I got a little. I got a lady.
Okay. So you saying it's difficult to open up with her, not necessarily.
When professional, it's tough. Personal, that's when it's tough for me to open up personally, right? So and when I say personally, that's, you know, my intimate relationships.
Got you. I mean, you know, for me,
because I'm just head down on, I got to solve this problem.
And
right?
you need to be locked in. You know, as a man, you gotta solve problems. You gotta provide. You gotta protect. But yet, you still have to be present. You gotta nurture. You gotta. I mean, again, when we look at provision, we look at it only as financial. My son needed more of my love than my money. He needed more of my affirmation than my money. He needed more of my intentional time than my money or the games I would buy or whatever. That's what matters the most.
So is the root of these problems that a lot of us have and face, is it our expectations, not theirs? Right?
I would say it's more so of what we've been deceived to believe our role is as men. And it goes back again to us being locked into two characteristics instead of evolving.
Yeah.
Because there is fear in the unknown. A lot of men ask, how do I become a comprehensive man like you did? I close with the son chapter because that's the characteristic the Most High used to shape me into the man that I am today when I had to care for my mother who had dementia. I couldn't just be the provider and protector. She needed it to some extent, you know. If I had a doctor who was insensitive, who only wanted to push meds on her just to get her out his office, I had to raise up and put him in check and make him do his job. If a pharmaceutical company was harassing her, I had to the line to raise up and check them. If the money she had for Social Security that couldn't meet the bills, I had to provide. But when my mother would ask a question 20 times, when I was just a masculine male, I would get angry and say, Ma, just answer that. Trust me, I already answered that, you good. That wasn't love. That wasn't what a comprehensive man does. I had to learn to answer the question 30, 40, 50 times if I needed to. I had to learn that I'm not less of a man if I did my mother's hair or filed her nails or washed her. That's what I tell men to do. Run to the areas in your life that make you feel the weakest, that somehow challenge who you are as a man. You know, there's so many, I talk to fathers who are broken, who have children who have disabilities. They're carrying this weight because they feel that they have to be so strong and they have no one to cry to.
Yeah.
And literally, man, when I talk to them, they just break down and wail. Why do we feel that we have to stay strong? We do need to be strong, but no one, you're an athlete, no one in here could even hold 135 for 3 days. You can't.
Yeah.
No one can stay strong. And that's what we have to get past.
With all the work that you do, and I'm speaking not on the youth, but more on the adults, the men, do you find it difficult to get men to lean in?
Never.
No.
Never. You give me a room like this with men and we close the doors, man, in a matter of minutes, men start breaking down. See,
how do you do that?
Open the space. I start first, allow myself to be transparent. But they already know what to expect from me. But once you share and another brother share, and one tear come, another falls, now men are opening up. Now men saying, okay, wait a minute. Okay, I know he a warrior. I know he does it. I know he, okay, so this must be okay.
Yeah.
And so I've never been in a space with men where you close the doors and it's a moment where we can be transparent. And a bunch of strong men, man, you're ready to drop it because you're tired.
Yeah.
And that's a loaded word in and of itself.
What does a man mean when he says he's tired?
I'll use me for an example. It means I'm close to the edge and I'm ready to jump. I'm strong, but I'm weary. Spiritually, being a servant of God, carrying a cross for as long as I have, laboring for Him, you get tired. But then you remember the scripture says, do not be weary in well-doing. He that endures to the end shall be saved. And I keep fighting and keep fighting.
Galatians.
Yeah, no, that's actually in Matthew. Yeshua, Jesus says that. Many will be persecuted for my name's sake, but he that endures to the end shall be saved. Endure, overcome. And so when I hear a man say he's tired, like my friend who I talk about in this book, retired police officer, struggled with PTSD. He called me one day, he was just so stressed. He says, Jay, I just grabbed my steering wheel so hard, bro, that my fingernail imprints are on my own palm. Do you know how fierce that grip had to have been? During this time in his life, he was losing his wife. And then we lost our mother in the same year. We never really had time to grieve that. But yet everyone depends on this brother. And when you see him, he looks jovial, happy. If you ever mean, like nothing's wrong. That's the problem. Depression wears a smile. Suicide wears a smile. And as men, we're seeing so many of us fall, but yet we're still trying to wear this mask, this facade, and there's no freedom in it. And so when you give a man a space, because we all know there's no freedom in it. We're not tired of living, we're tired of not living. We know there's more to life than us doing and providing for everyone but ourselves. And that's my goal and why I feel that, the Most High gave me this vision for men. It's not that we should never relinquish our masculine attributes. We must stay as fighters. We must stand bold as warriors and providers. However, where we're missing the mark and we're missing so much in life, and why we can't connect with not just our wives, but our children on an intimate level, because again, we've allowed not only our childhood, like me and you, without our mother's affirmation and affection, but look at all the years that shaped us past there in sports, martial arts, life, etc., that we haven't allowed ourselves to heal from, because through healing, you have to allow yourself to experience the pain again. And since we can't just muscle through that, and you have to be emotionally open and weak and crying out. Let me give you an example. It was one.
That's the toughest part.
Yeah. So check it out. So we were running in front of bullets to save our family without hesitation.
Yeah.
But let us have to talk about a moment when one of our family members abused us. You see? Now we're running. Oh, I'm straight. I'm good, man. We all good. It's all good, baby. But when you get a man when he's really tired and you have an open space and other men are open and free, now you're liberating each other.
So take me to the mirror. What's the 3 best affirmations a man can speak to himself in the mirror?
Can I be honest with you?
Yeah.
I don't even do affirmations.
No?
No, sir. I'm not saying they're not good for you. I'm saying for me. Yeah.
Tell me why. I love that. Tell me why.
For me personally, Me looking in the mirror, talking to myself, telling me you're powerful, you're intelligent, you're strong, you're creative, seems contrived, almost like I'm trying to create something that's not really real. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So for me, it's more effective when I hear those things from people I love. So we have a practice we would do called crowning the king, where you would sit a man in the center of a room and then you have everyone around him affirm him. So now it's not that these are just the things that I see.
I like that.
But these are the things that others see. Now, self-affirmations have been proven to work. I'm not against them. I'm saying it's just something I never really got
Well,
into.
tell me about mirror time. So what is mirror time?
Mirror time is similar to what you were saying about loving yourself. And so I use mirror time to look in my eyes and to see the things that I may not express. So I'll give you an example. 3 days ago, I was looking at myself in the mirror intently into my eyes, and I saw my younger self, the boy who never felt good enough, the boy who tended to be on his father's bad side than his good side. And in that moment, I had to choose to release that again. Or, you know, I have statements in there, not necessarily affirmations, but statements that I will not do this ever again. I know that I'm more than being an alpha male, which many men believe that that concept is actually accurate, but it never was an alpha male wolf that led the wolf pack. Actually, studies have concluded that it was the breeding pair that leads a wolf pack. So in essence, in the human sense, it's like a husband and wife leading a family. You see, and so those type of things I have men say to get these lies out of us.
One of the things here that I found interesting that I relate to is very difficult. I will no longer allow lust to tempt me into having premarital sex.
Yes. yes.
I'm going on a year, Doc.
That's good. Good. Keep it up. Yeah, keep it up.
It's getting hard, Doc.
Marry her then. Marry her.
You said marry her?
Yeah.
What about the, like, you know?
The what? This is so fun. I just shared this recently. Listen, a man who discipled me, he didn't kiss his wife until they got married. The entire time they dated.
Wow.
It blew my mind. He says, the first time you're supposed to kiss her is when you get married. I said, why you say that? He says, why do you think the pastor put great emphasis on you may now kiss your bride? Before then, spiritually, she's your sister. There is no boyfriend and girlfriend in the scriptures. There's really no boyfriend, girlfriend on documents. You're married or divorced, single. So if she's the one, I mean, at our age, you should know by now, brother, if she's the one.
How long does it take for a man to know that she's the one? And what are we?
How long you been dating her?
I'm not. You trying to get me talking. I don't know what my situation is.
Okay, well, you said a year. You said that you've been. Okay, no, so you've been abstaining from sex for a year. Okay, I got you. Okay. Well, put it this way: if I was single, and I'm dating someone for 6 months, you know then.
Okay, so you know within 6 months, and then so, you know,
it's the
worldly process is, all right, now you get engaged, you go through the engagement process, right? So how long does this thing?
What is all that? I was with an NFL player. This was last year. A very powerful session we had. He broke down crying, just sharing his heart about his fears of being married. And he says, you know, Mr. Wilson, I'm gonna go ahead and get married, but I know I need to get engaged first. I said, who said that? He just got married. See, we allow the world to define what God set into place. That's one of the biggest problems we're dealing with.
Go there.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is, so if you have this woman, you know, you prayed for, and you know this woman is sent by him, what stops us as men is the fear of that commitment. You can know this is the right woman, but it's the fear. And then not only that, once you get married, you can't hide no more. She's going to see Bruce Wayne and Batman now. And that's what we fear. But that's the beautiful side of marriage, because it actually refines both of you. My wife, being married to her, graciously stretches me, and vice versa. And I tell men, like, the hesitation is rooted in fear.
What's the spiritual benefits of marriage?
First and foremost, it's a covenant. See, I believe many of us look at marriage as a contract to have sex. It's a covenant between man and woman and the Most High God. My wife and I, when our marriage was struggling the most, we were focused on each other. And it almost caused us to get separated in 2015. It wasn't until we shift our focus to Him and started going this way did He actually bring us together. Marriage is, I believe, the Most High's greatest asset as far as Him getting His glory. Because why? The prophet Malachi testifies that the joining, his one thing that He was seeking from the joining of a husband and wife was godly offspring, children. So when you bring all of that under the covenant of God, now you're not only being obedient to His will, but now nothing is out of line. This is why our communities are in the shape that they're in now. Fatherless homes, you can be a great dad and not in the home. There are stats that still show that the children are at a greater detriment. So marriage is a union between husband and wife, man and woman, but more importantly, it's a covenant with the Almighty God. So
I'm a name drop here because, you know, they talk about it publicly, and one of them happened to be my friend, brother. So Cam Newton, Nick Cannon. Are you familiar with their journey and their story?
Not a lot, not really.
So they talk a lot about, is it polygamy? Is that the thing where you can sleep with multiple women, or?
Yes.
So when you hear men, because it seems like it's a trendy thing right now. So when you hear, you know, brothers like Nick Cannon Nick just have a bunch of, I don't know, I can't say that to Nick, but I think there's, so Cam Newton for sure. When you hear men talk about, you know, polygamy and running from marriage, monogamy, what comes up for you?
Because of the work I do with black boys in Detroit, I get upset at times because I see the ill effect of not only the father not being in the home, but the father not loving that boy's mother. What is that programming that boy to become? And then seeing the byproduct of that type of behavior. As a man of the Most High, I'm against that type of lifestyle. But even if I remove the spiritual side of that and look naturally, what I see working with kids for over 22 years, it upsets me a lot sometimes. And I don't know those two brothers' story.
Yeah.
But in general, when we lack I was about to say discipline, but the desire to live righteous lives, and it's so self-centered that we allow our sexual desires to come before the lineage, come before the well-being of your wife and your children. That there, to me, is why I have to work so hard, why I have boys in our academy, the Cave of Adullam, who are dealing with so many psychological issues, emotional issues.
Yeah.
And that's why I commend the men who choose the one woman way, the God way, staying home. If I want more than one child, I'm gonna have it with this woman. If she can't have any more children, I want more, we want more, we're gonna adopt some. But we're gonna build this village. We can't keep complaining about the community and we can't even establish a home. And so, yeah, I'm totally against it. You know, I'm not judgmental on it, but
no,
yeah.
but these are, just so you know, and yeah, I'm not the type of guy that gossip or, you know, try to throw people under the bus. I'm always uplifting. But they're talking about it openly, right? And it's the other gentleman I was referring to is Neo, right? Neo is talking about, he's talking about these things as well. So with that being said, what about me as a divorcee, right? What do I need to do to make sure my boys have 2 sons, 10 and 5, and I have a daughter, 10, she's a twin. So what do I do now as a divorcee to overcome what you're overcoming in your work?
So, what's the first thing I asked you when you told me you were divorced? Do you remember?
Oh, is there opportunity to reconcile?
Absolutely. And you said no, right? All right. So now after that, it's been answered. You still need to love her. See, to me, it's important that your sons see that you still love her, even though you two couldn't make it work.
Yeah.
Ideally, I would love for you two to reconcile. That's why I smiled when I heard about the episode with you two. Because I understand the power of that unit, because that's still their mother. But if that can't happen, when I work with men in your situation, be present, be loving.
But that episode, how that came about, was struggling for about a year and a half, and I had everyone around me like, you gotta go, you gotta go. Remember I told you the story about walking in here and then shutting everything down.
Yeah.
I thought it was gonna take 3 months, a year and 3 months later, and I got the media engine back up and running a little bit, and now on the performance side, House of Athlete, it's a year and a couple of months. And so there's a lot of people around me like, you gotta go, you gotta go. And I would lay in my bed and I was working on discipline. You know, last March is when God basically said, wait until you're married again and have sex.
Absolutely.
I'm an honest guy, so I can't look you in your eye and say I didn't mess up 2 times. Gotta be honest with you.
Okay. I understand. No, I'm looking, man.
But I heard, you know, so
you repent. And
I repent.
You keep going.
Yep. There was the summertime was a struggle.
Did you set up any
boundaries and guardrails?
Yes.
Yes. I'm good there now. I'm good now. I'm good now.
Good.
So this happened, and I was working on discipline, because how can I be faithful and strong for the next person if I've never practiced, if I've never done it, I've never leaned into restraint, right? And so anytime I wanted to fill the void, I would just sit there, read a book. I would go to dinner by myself. I would do those things, listen to music. So everybody's telling me, go, go, go. And I would lay in the bed and I remember like nights just like tapping the bed. And I'm like, God, like just trying to hear from God. Like, God, I'm only moving when you tell me to move. Like literally they're like physically like that bored, like I gotta go. And one night he said, make it right with her. And what he showed me was exactly that. This gets to the episode where I said, well, there's no opportunity to reconcile. But our kids can see us as partners, right? And I felt like that would be the best way for us to show that to our children, because we weren't talking. It was tough. We went 2.5 years, literally not even looking each other in the eye, not texting, talking through third parties. And the first time we actually looked each other in the eye really and sat down was when I said, hey, do you have a minute? I want to talk to you about this, and I want you to pray on this. And that's how we got there. And it was leveraging that. Hey, you're doing your business, you're in its storytelling, podcasting. I think this is a great opportunity for our kids to see us, collaborating. And very powerful, very powerful, very powerful. But there's still challenges co-parenting.
Absolutely. But yeah, so I guess to answer your question, when you're in that situation, man, is of course still love, your sons or your daughter, mother, and to be present and be active in your children's lives and to make sure that they still feel like they're the apple of your eye. And that's what I would strongly suggest that as well.
I want to rapid fire here. I want to get you out of here. There's so much we can talk about. You like me, you like to talk.
I'm conversing, brother. Yes,
No,
Yeah,
I'm just being respectful of your time, but I literally have so much here. This is good, thank you.
Oh yeah, thank you, brother.
So I want you to talk to me about anger, trauma, fear, and communication. So those are the 4 things. We're gonna start with anger.
What about anger?
What comes up for you?
It is, to me, anger is at the surface. It's never really what's causing the eruption, the outburst. So even when I work with men or young boys and I see the anger, the rage, I hit that calmly. What's going on? What are you feeling? What's causing this? And we dig and we dig and we dig. It's just it's a signal that something else much deeper is going on. That's
Trauma.
Trauma.
Because everybody talks about trauma now. Like, when I started my conversation on mental health, it was taboo. A lot of stigma. Obviously there's still stigma, and there's always going to be stigma around mental health. But now everyone's talking about trauma. Everybody's talking about toxicity and all these other terms, right?
Yes.
Trauma is a big one.
Trauma, what comes to mind is, I look at my life and how I allowed growing up in Detroit to brand trauma like it was a part of the Black experience. I remember when Most High gave me an acronym for the word thug, which is a traumatized human unable to grieve. And that awakened me to why so many of us as men are stuck there. And me being a good boy growing up, how many life-threatening situations I got in just trying to fall in line with this image that I had experienced so much trauma. I mean, just recently, brother, I'm with a father and his son. The father had to check his son bragging to his friends about how hard he grew up. And when his dad, like, what you talking about, man? You ain't never had to struggle. But that's a main problem that I would love to see eradicated from our community, where we'll start hearing kids brag about being in a safe, peaceful home than having to hear gunshots around the corner.
Yeah.
And so that's what when I think of trauma, I believe that's one of the greatest hindrances in our community, the embracing of it and not the releasing of it.
Yeah, we celebrate that.
Absolutely.
I celebrated that.
Yeah.
I still say that to this day, just not to celebrate it, but to give people a glimpse of where I've come from. It's like, man, from the poorest county in all of Pennsylvania, right? But back in the day, it was like, yo, I'm from East Liberty.
Yeah.
I got it tattooed on me.
But what's wrong with the guy that grew up, both parents in the home, stable community?
I think, that's to your point in your work, right? That's why it's important to make sure we're creating those homes.
Yeah, and because the kids, I had gang members stop by our building. They tell me, keep doing what you're doing. I don't want them kids out here. But yeah, you'll see it in the music and the culture is bragged about. Yeah. But the very ones who are in it, they don't want that life.
So as a as an artist, as a, can I say, retired musician?
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes.
Are you disappointed in where hip hop's at right now?
I blame myself as being a part of it. I believe I came along during the golden era of hip hop. And the music that I produce, the rappers that I produce, my mentality, my behavior, is the reason why you see a lot of what you see. So it would be hypocritical for me. Do I love what I see? No, of course not. But I played a role in that, which is why I believe, too, that I think it's a great thing when you see a rapper or a producer change his way, get into, entrepreneurship. But the problem lies when we never denounce our behavior. Like, no, I want to let y'all know it was wrong for me to make an anthem about how to make crack cocaine. Mm-hmm. Because now I created hundreds of young boys who know how to distribute it. I want to let you know from the door that is wrong. Yes, I'm a successful businessman now, but I don't want you to look at that as the route you need to take to get to where I am. And so we need to hold ourselves responsible because hip hop is a very powerful tool.
Yeah.
We use it to educate kids in our nonprofit as well. But at the same time, when I stopped making the music for secular hip hop artists, the Most High told me that my beats were the gun, the rapper's lyrics were the bullets, and when you put them together, the trigger squeezes and you destroy another young mind. If the music if the music is glorifying evil, mm-hmm. misogynistic behavior, murder, drug selling. But we've seen the other side of hip hop, how it uplifts and empowers and sparks movements. And so when I see the culture, and I got a lot of rappers who follow me and I talk to that you'll never know. I care for them, and I don't like what I see because it's not real. No. And I guess that's the real thing. It's not real. They're not even happy.
Yeah.
So it's like, man,
doing most of the things that they're rapping about. Fear.
Fear. Greatest hindrance to men becoming comprehensive, to becoming whole. The fear of being exposed. I walk through it every day. I'm an introvert who extroverts well. If I could do what I do and never be seen, never be around, and just be with the people, the fathers, the boys, whomever, that's what I would do. But God is like, no, it is written that you are to let your light shine in such a way that men to see your good works, but glorify me who is in heaven. Mm-hmm. So again, when we allow fear to program us, shape us, it limits us in who we're created to be as men of God. Yeah.
Communication, and you talk about communication in your book, the art of it.
Yes.
Can you hit on that?
I think I was talking about like combat communication I shared earlier with my wife, especially when you're dealing with young boys who are angry and hostile in the moment. How do I communicate in a way where I control the situation, but yet still let them know that they're heard? Or, for instance, I share in the book a time when my wife and we were driving and the bus almost ran us off the road. And I pull up alongside the bus to see what was going on with the driver. And I see he doing this, I'm pretty sure he's trying to curse at me or whatever. And I look at him and I just pull off. This guy follows me into the parking lot where we were going shopping. He parks the bus with passengers on it, gets off, starts walking towards me aggressively. Communication is key. I used to do security and, of course, training in martial arts. I'm reading body language. But I know once you get within 3 feet, a 3-foot radius of me, now I'm looking at this situation as life-threatening. And I'm not going to fight you. I'm trying to kill you because my wife is with me. And I tell them to stop, you know. Once you cross this radius, I'm gonna have to do what I have to do to protect myself and my family. I didn't allow my ego, I'm strapped too, I carry legally. My wife next to me. I didn't allow my ego to ruin that moment. I allowed that brother to convey his heart. Do you know we were able to reconcile in that moment with no ego? He didn't know I was strapped, so it wasn't like he was scared. It was my body language, my communication, letting him know that I'm strong, but let's communicate this in a respectful manner and respect my distance. When that was done, we were able to shake hands. That's communication, that leads to reconciliation. And that's another thing that I see amongst men that we're struggling with is, we're human beings, we're gonna, you know, offend each other sometime, you know, argue, but can we reconcile? You don't even see it in the culture as far as movies where you have two brothers beefing in the movie. When do they reconcile?
Yeah.
And so I want that to be seen more. But if you're not used to being more than just a masculine male, and look at the other options, you know how many men are dead now?
Yeah.
Because they didn't know how to communicate?
Yeah.
Because they feared being perceived as pusillanimous or weak. They didn't allow themselves, man.
By the grace of God, I'm still here.
Yeah,
I've been
me
in
too.
situations growing up where
I had guns to my head, brother. Everybody can talk about that till you have a piece of cold steel on your head. And I still didn't let the guy go to my boy's house to kill him. So everybody can talk all of that stuff, but at the end of the day, are we really modeling what we want to see, the change? So I don't allow anymore my pride, my ego to get, first and foremost, in his way, to use me, but secondly, in the way of my wife and my children's future, in the way of my calling. So much could be lost just by one mistake. You talked about lusting, and I often tell men, do you think I'm faithful to my wife because I love her? So I'm gonna ask you that. Do you think I'm faithful to my wife, Nicole, because I love her?
I think you're faithful to your wife because you love God.
That's the key. So now, yes, I love my wife. I don't want to hurt her. But my affinity, my love, my existence is all in him, B. I know if I cheat on my wife or just, I would never put my hands on my wife. Just say if something happened, we got in a fight. My kids have changed the way they look at me. She may leave. He'll never leave me. So that's first. Second, my desire to make sure she's safe, make sure she's taken care of. My desire is never to hurt her. That's one thing we had to agree upon to keep us together now, understanding that our intentions for each other were never to hurt each other. Even when we don't understand each other, I'm saying, man, what she said just, man, pissed me off. But I know she didn't mean it that way. So then I come to her and I say, hey, babe, Cole, that hurt me what you just said. What did you mean by that? Instead of just holding that in. So, of course, it's the love for my wife, Nicole, but it's the fear of God that keeps me stable.
Yeah.
And that's what me, so now we got to go back to that.
See, that's why I asked you about communication, because what you did there, that's effective communication.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I read a book called Difficult Conversations, and that was the first time I understood that there was an art and science to communication, right?
Yes, absolutely.
We just, you know, it's a process, and we have to lean in, and it's tough at times. I got a few more. Is that okay?
Yeah, brother, yes.
This is coming out of left field. We talking about, you know, the man, the moment, demands, and men. And you said there's no definition. That's the problem when you try to define man. Are you the ideal man?
Ideal, what do you mean? Am I a comprehensive man?
Yeah, like, you know what I'm saying? Because we're talking about evolving.
I am a comprehensive man, for sure.
You're happy where you're at.
Happy, that's a fleeting emotion, man. Like, there's no stability in that. That goes just like that. Am I content where I am? I'm closer to content.
And when did you get there?
I'm still striving. That's what I was about to tell you. So when you're a servant of the Most High, like, a lot of people can write out their plans, and I have to obey someone. My life is not mine, so I don't look at things the same like many people do. So he say, go this way. There is no light down there, but you're going to be my light. And by the way, Lee, you can't have any weapons, but trust me and go that way.
Yeah.
So that's where I am as a man and a servant, if that makes sense to you.
100%. Man, there's so much that
I see
we
you
can
got
talk
that
about.
bookmarked. I was wondering why you got that section bookmarked right there.
Because this is my favorite part of the book.
Really?
Yeah, and I have right here, my note was not expecting this. And this is when you're talking about
dining etiquette.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you.
Yeah. But think about this. So as men,
Out of all the stuff you talking about, I was not expecting. I was like, yo, you teaching us how to look. All right here, page 132. Taking a drink, using the bathroom, how to tip, exiting the table, eating your meal, right? Like
those are life skills, brother. I can't tell you how many jobs I've secured when I owned a construction company simply off of how I dined at the table. And I have students from the Cave of Adullam, my academy, who've gotten scholarships because they sat at a table who, with the man they had no idea had a lot of money, scholarshiped them in college because of the way they carried themselves at the table. Not just dining, but communication.
Life skills, is it fleeting right now, or is it like, you see kids or youth struggling with those things? Because like as an employer, you know, we have a couple interns, and there's one that I'm coaching hard right now, I would say. And I'm like, bro, there's a way you show up, how you dress, how you be on camera, because everything's virtual now, right? And phenomenal kid, you know, phenomenal.
Yes.
But it's just the details of those things, like understanding, you know, those things matter.
Get to his why. Like, why is he that way? Once you get there, you can resolve it all. See, we like, you know, putting lipstick on a pig, how my father would say it. Instead of dealing with the real issue, getting in the dirt.
Well, what do I do as a leader? How do I get to the why? What do I ask? What I do now is say, like, hey, here's what's right.
Show him. Spend time with him. Let him know that you're vested besides your business, that you care about him. Hey, let's go out to eat, me and you. That's the best place to teach dining etiquette without condemning them. See if they even understand table etiquette. Communication, eye contact. See, the issue is our children, they don't feel love. And we're so busy. We started this conversation off with us being as men busy worrying about providing and keeping things going. And in the process of doing that, we're losing the most valuable assets we have.
It's our family.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a book, like I said, I love reading. One of my favorite books is called The One Thing.
Absolutely, Gary Keller. Yes, one of my favorites.
And he talks about that, right? Like, you have two balls. One are, pause. Can't say it, that's the youth, you know.
Oh, okay.
Hey, I gotta get the OG to pause a little bit. You got two balls, rubber ball and a glass ball. The rubber ball is your profession. The glass ball is your family. Rubber ball, right? You can always get a new job. You can always make more money. You can drop that, it's gonna bounce back up.
Absolutely.
Drop that, it's gonna bounce back up. Your glass ball, you drop it, get a little cut, you drop it, got another scratch, you drop it, bigger crack. You drop it, it shatters. You can never put it back together, right? It's interesting because, you know, going through divorce, I look at like, man, how much of me chasing outside things played into that. I struggle with that a little bit because I think that, you know, another conversation there is about filling the void. You know, I feel like I was a broken man, broken boy because of my trauma, because of my upbringing, right? And I've worked extremely hard to overcome and to learn. But man, you get married when you're 26, 27, when you don't have that nurturer, you don't have that example, you got to figure it out, right? And so I find that a lot of us men, when we're broken, we fill the void, whether it's women, drugs, partying, spending money, et cetera, et cetera.
And it doesn't fill the void.
So one of my last questions for you is this, like, a broken man that cheats, is he a cheater?
You just answered your own question.
What do you mean?
If I stole...
I confused myself.
If I stole... Listen, if I stole this, say, $50,000 piece of china, am I a thief?
Yeah, you're a thief.
It is what it is. The key thing is, man, is we're afraid of the why. Why our own cause and effect of what's causing this to happen? What you about to say?
So the reason why I say that, right, like a cheater, I'm comfortable living in this, doing it.
Okay, I see what you mean.
Right? A broken man who has cheated, right, the love is taken away from me, so now I'm gonna go, that nurturing is not there, that love is not there, for whatever reason. Could be his fault, her fault, so now let me go fill that void. I'm gonna go get that love somewhere else because you don't have the discipline to sit with yourself. You don't love yourself.
So you're
the
talking
question
to a
is,
man of the Most High right here, though.
Yes, sir.
So I think it's Hebrews chapter 10, verse 26. You got a Bible in there?
Can you grab my Bible right there? I'm loaded, baby.
You got on your phone? I'm pretty sure you got one.
Oh, yeah, I got a Bible verse, but I got the Bible. Can you grab my Bible right there on the, hey, and also, Jason said we have a great team.
You do, phenomenal.
We have a great team. There you go. I love this one.
Never even heard of this version here. Let's see. So what you're talking about is the willingness to keep going, right? So here we go. So, for if we sin willfully or continue in sin after we receive the knowledge of the truth, there no longer remains a sacrifice for the sins. So the reason I share that, because you talked about a person who is a cheater that keeps cheating, right?
Yep.
But you compared him to the one who just does it sporadically. Fills a void. Is that what you were saying?
No, like basically not the comprehensive man. The opposite of a comprehensive man for me is someone who hasn't dealt with their trauma, who hasn't healed, right? Who hasn't connected. But
are you saying those are his reasons for stepping out on his wife?
I'm saying that, for example,
I'm just trying to...
Yeah, no, you're one of the things that you said was, I don't cheat because of my wife, I don't cheat because of God.
No,
right?
I said I don't cheat just because I love her. I cheat because of my fear and love for the Most High.
Right.
Right.
In that's law, not law. Jesus came to abolish the law, but
fulfill it. It's still here. He didn't come to abolish it.
Okay, teach me.
Yeah, it's the law. If you kill me, did you violate the law?
Yeah.
There you go. It's still here.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. There's principles.
Yes.
There's rules.
Yes.
To Christianity.
To the faith. Yes.
Yeah.
Biblical principles. Yes.
That's right. So, you know, when you tap in and you align with with God, there's rules, right? You understand that. You know, I think you brought up that scripture earlier where it's like, you know now.
Yeah, so,
right?
So
Now what I'm saying is, there's so many brothers out there that is traumatized, that have the daddy issues and what you call the mother wound.
And the father wound, yes.
And the father wound.
Yes.
Right? Until you deal with that, those are some of the things that come up.
Okay, I got you now. So question, you think I still don't battle? My father wound, the results of my mother's lack of affection. I just told you I got a call from my brother almost at midnight yesterday. And I'm sharing with him with tears in my eyes. We're both talking about how mom was a shell of herself after our brother got murdered. I still fight all of that. You understand? I still have memories of people losing people in front of me. I still have memories of my mother having a nervous breakdown in front of me. I still have memories of getting a call that my best friend dropped dead. That's still there. What stops me, that's what I'm saying, we can't allow the trauma, the emotional losses to keep controlling us. I still fight it. The difference is between me and the guy who does the other things, he doesn't fight no more. I'm fighting it every day. I keep going, I keep fighting it, because I don't want to lose. I know, I tell my wife, you know, a woman can't give me peace. What is peace, Brother Brandon? Where is peace in me having to have another cell phone, to hide another relationship, to hide from my own kids with a woman? There is no peace in that. I see the opposite of that. So I fight that. I'm still a man in the flesh, but I fight it because I have the Holy Spirit in me that keeps me in check, blows the whistle before the foul. And that's where, as men, we see, because we're not used to expressing ourselves and really being authentic with what's happening internally, we look at these little moments as escapes. I tell men all the time, yeah, you may not cry the natural way, but you're crying in other ways. The way you are in your marriage, struggle with pornography, drugs, abuse, alcohol, drug abuse, you name it. So I keep fighting. My greatest desire is to be home with my Abba in heaven. I told my wife, don't worry about a woman taking me from you. Worry that the Most High send an angel to our door and say, Jason, you can come home now. That's what I long for. Because I'm a warrior, man. You know, I fight a lot. So when you tell me that there are men who cherish their sexual desires more than establishing a healthy home, I have a problem with that. But I love those brothers because if I met with, you said Cam Newton and Nick Cannon, if I met with them brothers and we closed the doors, they agree with me because I know where it come from. I just don't play the games no more. And I give men an opportunity to sit and talk with me and say, let's dig to why that behavior exists. And then are you willing? That's when I talk to you, your eyes heavy with tears, started filling with tears because that little boy, the one who didn't get that love from mom, he's still in there. And that's when you become authentic, like, hey, I need help here. And this is why. And when you identify that this is sin, this is unhealthy behavior, man, me absent from him, I'm done. I tell you that right now. My wife could still forgive me, my kids, But you pull me out from under his wings, I know this. What is this place, man? You wake up, I mean, we just sensitize everything. How do we have homeless people in our communities, the amount of money that we have? How is anyone hungry here considering the food that's thrown out every night at restaurants? And so my purpose, I stay locked in. And that's the key. But for men, when you can finally, when you always like this, you always like this, man, you're in fight or flight, you stuck. And that's what your relationships, you can't receive the nurturing. My wife touched me, I'm like this, because it's still some memories in there with my brother's, other brother who is gone now, hustler. Don't ever let your wife know how you feel. She'll use it against you. I wasn't even married yet. That's still in my head. I got to fight to get out. Watching guys get beat down at the concerts at Joe Louis Arena in Detroit for walking with their girl's hand, holding their girl hand in public, getting beat down. I struggle holding my wife's hand at 54 years old right now. But I keep fighting because it's bigger than me. When you realize your existence is bigger than you, you start living and making decisions based on things that are bigger than you.
Man, I would love to see you and Cam sit down.
I know exactly. I know exactly the conversation. I saw him, I believe, with Sister Dr. Bryant. Yeah, and yeah.
Have you guys been in touch?
I've never met Cam.
I want to introduce you guys, and it'd be a great conversation for us, the community. I'm gonna introduce you guys. The man, the moment demands Jason Wilson. Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
And for me, I wear my emotions on my sleeve. And at 40, I find that 40 is a extremely spiritual year, and there's a lot of things happening, powerful, good. And I want to share that. And I don't want to wait until I'm on the other side. I want to share my story now, my journey, so I can bring more brothers with me. And that's why I opened up with this, and I really wanted to sit down with you because this has blessed me. Your book blessed me. Today blessed me, right? I think we could have sat here and we could have laughed, and there could have been more challenges, more accountability. So I just want to say thank you, man, for, your words and your presence.
Thank you, brother. That means a lot. And I'll be praying for you, man. I appreciate your transparency as well. And I guess one thing I left out is don't try to live a balanced life. I think that's where many of us fail. If you look at a scale, and in each pan, you have your family, and just say your family, and then over here, you have entrepreneurship, goals, whatever else it is, investments, and it constantly stays equal priority. Someone's not going to get something. So for me, what I had to learn is that if God and my family is in this pan of the scale and everything else is here, this side must always tip the scale. When I'm in balance, that's when I know something is wrong. I'm stressed out, I'm spreading myself too thin. But once things are in order as far as my priority, now everything that is supposed to get my attention, the love, affirmation, everything that needs it, my dedication, obedience is here, it feeds everything there.
That's good. That's good.
And that liberated me. That was another moment where I saw that, okay, wait a minute, this is why I wasn't the dad I needed to be to my daughter early on. But when I learned that lesson, I became that dad for her now, and especially my son.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
There you go. The 10 characteristics of a comprehensive man. That is the dynamic characteristics, the fighter, the provider, the leader. The deeper characteristics, the lover, the nurturer, the gentleman, the friend. The devotion characteristics, the husband, the father, the son. I'm not sure when this is coming out, but it may drop.
The 28th.
Well, the episode.
Oh, okay.
But the book is coming out January 28th.
Yes.
So if you're watching this before January 28th, 2025, make sure you
Pre-order.
Oh, you can pre-order. So we.
Yeah, you pre-order. Yes.
Yes.
Make sure you secure your copy and get prepared for a journey into comprehensive manhood.
There you go.
They call me Big Jack. Lost my fucking brother and that shit had me a bit sad. And now I'm chasing big cash. Niggas used to rip tags. I couldn't even stay the whole year. We used to skip class. Now all I do is get bags. I'm the one the family running to, whatever get bad. My city have a problem. First thing they tell you, get jacked. If you ain't around no more.